According to the spoilers for Chapter 5 of Saint Seiya Heaven Saga, Athena is finally confronting the evil goddess Kur. And with that, several possibilities and theories are starting to be confirmed. We'll probably see the return of the golden dagger that kills gods, and, most amazingly, the return of a legendary knight, that being Gemini Kanon. Hello, knights and Amazons. Welcome to the Sempre Quiz Saber channel. I'm Wes. And in today's video, we're going to unravel the mysteries of the latest spoilers from the Heaven Saga, where we might have the possible and impactful return of Gemini Kanon, the man who deceived the gods, and who may finally get his revenge on Kur, the goddess who destroyed the fate of Kanon and his brother Saga. Did you like the topic? So leave a comment so I know, and of course, click like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's get into this awesome video. In the pantheon of gods that torment humanity, Kur is considered a minor deity. Although she has acted in the shadows for centuries, being the sister of the twin gods Hypnos and Thanatos, Kur serves directly under Hades, the emperor of the underworld. She embodies doom, violent death, and the cruel fate that no mortal or warrior can easily escape. In the recent events of the Heaven Saga, we see that Athena finally came face to face with her. Without mincing words or showing any mercy, Kur reveals to Saori that she was the mastermind behind the corruption of the souls of Saga and Kanon, the twin brothers from the past. Kur confesses to having implanted the evil spirit in Saga when he was still a baby in the sanctuary. This ended up triggering his split personality and the subsequent rebellion that culminated in the assassination of the Grand Master Shion. This act of sabotage led to the tragic death of several Silver Saints and also Gold Saints, which culminated in the iconic Battle of the 12 Houses and set the stage for the weakening of Athena's army. Before Da awakens, Kur's cruelty is shown in a shocking way in Chapter 5 of the Heaven Saga. Before Athena's eyes, the goddess of evil destroys the specter of Andiatros into tiny pieces, who was her own subordinate, without showing any hesitation or remorse for eliminating one of her allies in order to attack Athena directly, taking advantage of the apparent vulnerability of the goddess. However, what the goddess of evil fate did not expect is that the latent power of Saori Kito defies the very laws imposed by the god Apollo. As we know from the events of the Next Dimension saga, Saori had her memories and a large part of her divine powers sealed by the sun god Apollo, as punishment for her rebellion and for the sins of both the knights and the sanctuary, as well as humanity. But the essence of a mythological goddess cannot be erased so easily. Even with Apollo's divine seal, Saori is experiencing constant memory lapses and violent surges of cosmic power. This fluctuation became evident when Jean de Diorthros himself tried to ambush her earlier. Just with the involuntary awakening of her supreme Cosmo, Saori left the specter completely unconscious without needing to land a single physical blow. Furthermore, demonstrating the frightening magnitude of her protective and dangerous aura, she was also able to leave Pegasus, Seiya, and Andromeda Shun unconscious. It's worth remembering that both Seiya and Shun are currently deprived of their memories due to Apollo's punishment, living as ordinary humans in the village of Rodorio. Knowing of the imminent danger and determined not to involve her beloved knights in more bloodshed, Saori used her cosmos to put them to sleep before leaving alone to face the terrible threat of Care. Athena's power, even fragmented, would theoretically be enough to rival and obliterate the evil goddess. But the big strategic problem in this fight is that Saori is deprived of her main combat tools. She doesn't have her sacred staff, which represents the goddess of victory, Ikki. She isn't wearing her armor, and her powers keep fluctuating dangerously from one moment to the next. To be facing a warrior deity like Care under these conditions means that Athena is in imminent danger of losing her life. And it's exactly this disadvantage that opens the door for one of the biggest theories ever created by fans, which makes total sense with these new developments. This could be the introduction of a new character, or the return of a legendary ally to balance the scales in this fight. This is where the name Gemini Kanon comes up in a big way. Kanon's history in the story is worthy of a true mythological survivor. Initially known as the man who instigated the evil side of his brother Saga, Kanon was imprisoned at Cape Sunion, a prison from which it was impossible to escape. It was there that he discovered Poseidon's trident and released the soul of the god of the seas, taking on the identity of the sea dragon Marina General. He manipulated the entire Poseidon saga for his own benefit, trying to rule both the land and the sea. However, after being touched by Athena's mercy and warm cosmos, who saved him repeatedly from drowning at Cape Sunyan without his knowledge, Kanon deeply redeemed himself. In the Hades saga, he took up the Gemini armor left by his late brother and fought as a true knight in the underworld, defeating countless specters and facing off against Rhadamanthes of Wyvern, one of the three judges of the underworld. His journey ended heroically in a suicidal confrontation against Rhadamanthes of Wyvern, where he unleashed a point-blank galactic explosion without his armor, ascending to the heavens of the underworld along with his rival. Since then, Kanon was presumed dead. However, in the universe of Saint Seiya, the disappearance of a powerful cosmos in the heat of battle does not always mean the absolute end. Many clues suggest that Kanon may have survived, and since then, he could be wandering in the dimensional limbo, waiting for the right moment to return. And guys, Kanon's return at this point in the story makes perfect sense from a dramatic and poetic perspective in this saga. After all, goddess Kur was the main one responsible for ruining the lives of the twin brothers, turning the Gemini lineage into family tragedies, madness, and betrayal. Seeing Kanon return from the world of the dead, or from his dimensional exile to protect the goddess who forgave him, and at the same time, unleash all his fury against the deity who destroyed his brother, Saga's mind would be the absolute climax of the Heaven Saga. It would be Gemini's ultimate redemption, defying the very cursed fate imposed by the gods. And the decisive factor for a mortal to be able to eliminate a goddess like Kur lies in a sacred object, which carries an unprecedented poetic irony: the Kryzos dagger. This famous golden dagger has mystical properties capable of wounding and killing deities. It was the exact same dagger that Saga of Gemini, possessed by the evil spirit sent by Kur, used 13 years ago in an attempt to assassinate baby Athena in her crib, only to be stopped at the last moment by Iolos of Sagittarius. Seeing Kanon use this same ancient weapon to pierce the heart of the goddess of evil destiny would create a perfect cycle in the irony of fate. The weapon that was used by Saga in the attempt to end Athena's life would now become an instrument of salvation and vengeance in the hands of his brother Kanon. We know that in Kanon's first confrontation against Kur, it was right after he had just freed himself from Cape Sunyan. On that occasion, the goddess said that a mortal could not kill her, but Kanon had a divine weapon, which was Poseidon's trident. And on that occasion, he wounded Kur's face and almost managed to kill her. Now, with his possible return in the final saga, Kanon will finally be able to carry out his revenge. But even though all this line of reasoning is extremely coherent and exciting, we know very well the writing style of Mikuramada. The author loves to subvert the fans' expectations and could very well choose other paths, bringing in alternative characters to intervene in Athena's fight against Kur. One of the viable options within the current story is the warrior Laskamune. She is a commander of the Black Satellites, the elite army among the warriors who faithfully serve the moon goddess Artemis. Laskamune was officially sent to Earth by Callisto, the most powerful servant of Artemis, with the mission to protect Athena. These are Artemis's direct orders to monitor Athena's movements and ensure that the balance of the world is not undone by external forces, such as Hades' subordinates. That's why Laskamune could appear on the battlefield, using her swift arrows to stop Kur's advance. Another possibility points to a direct intervention by the god Apollo. The sun god demonstrates immeasurable power and an extremely rigid moral and divine stance at the end of the Next Dimension saga. He considers Athena's actions an affront to the council of the gods, but he also values order and his sister's life. Apollo is watching Athena from a distance, following every step of her punishment and the isolation of her memories, monitoring the fluctuations in her cosmos since the chapters of Saint Seiya Dan, which opened the Heaven Saga. And knowing that Kur, an entity connected to the underworld and Hades' army, is trying to directly interfere with the fate he himself imposed on Saorikido, Apollo could very well intervene. And the last and also quite likely possibility is the triumphant arrival of Icarus, Ikki of the Phoenix. The Phoenix Saint has already been explicitly revealed in the new chapter of the Heaven Saga. He is also in Greece, walking through the sacred lands around the sanctuary. In a scene full of drama and strangeness, Ikki comes across his brother Shun of Andromeda. And during the conversation with Shun, Ikki mentions having a confusing memory, a strong feeling associated with a flower that was born in hell itself. This mention of the flower from hell is a direct and emotional reference to Esmeralda, Ikki's great love, who tragically died on Death Queen Island while he was undergoing the hellish training to obtain the phoenix cloth, also referring to the only flower that bloomed on that cursed island. This memory lapse clearly indicates that the Phoenix Saint is already breaking the block imposed by Apollo. As we know during the time travel in the Next Dimension saga, Ikki met the Grand Master of that ancient era. Amidst the revelations about the past, and the 13th Gold Saint, who is Odysseus Geophilco, the Grand Master of the 18th century, entrusted Ikki with the golden dagger that kills gods, knowing that the Phoenix Saint would be the only one capable of bearing that burden. Therefore, if Ikki managed to keep possession of the Kryzos dagger, even after returning to the present and having his memories sealed, he can use this artifact in the battle against Kur to protect the goddess Athena. But what about you? Which of these theories do you think will be confirmed in the next chapter of the Heaven Saga? Leave a comment and let me know. And of course, thank you for watching this video until the end, and see you next time. Who said burn your Cosmo to infinity?